So I'm going to ask BJ Ackerman, if you please. My notes have fallen, so I'm trying to get them picked back up here. And so BJ is an instructional designer with FICO and an SDSU EdTech graduate in 2006, and he brings a fresh perspective on his career, recently having graduated, and so he brings that experience to the career panel today. I'd like to also invite Kim Higgins to join us. Kim Higgins has successfully partnered with hundreds of employees to foster and manage their career development for over a decade. She's been an executive career coach, training coordinator, corporate recruiter, career consultant, and she's worked with Lee Heck Harrison on one of the nation's leading outplacement firms. She's also worked for businesses small and large, including Ford Motor Company. She's a certified coach through the International Coaching Federation, and she prides herself on aligning between her clients' identity and their professional passion. And I'd like to also invite Peter Kane to come up to the front. And Peter Kane's joining us as an HR professional with experience in profit and nonprofit organizations, manufacturing, service entities, healthcare, biotech, large and small companies. He served as VP of Workforce Readiness with San Diego SHRM, Society of Human Resource Managers, and he's a senior human resource consultant at Strategic HR Services and a principal partner with King Consulting. So these are our panelists right here, and we will have other panelists perhaps joining us. Some called ahead to say that they were going to be late, so please do expect and forgive the intrusion ahead of time. We may be interrupted once in a while as any panelists will join us to do so. So again, we solicited questions from the members. We've organized them into categories. They're different categories, and the questions that are provided ahead to the panel, they've been able to do some research and put together some answers for us, so they're prepared to answer those questions. And they prioritize their questions, and those are the ones we're going to be asking as we go through this. And I'll ask questions at the end, so there'll be networking following the meeting also. So please, if you will have additional questions and we can't get to them, please use the time at the end of the meeting to ask those questions. I want to remind you, if you have cell phones, please, if you turn to silent mode, that would be helpful for us too. Okay, so our first category, market demand, the demand for in our profession. The economy is rebounding, and so is San Diego. Companies may likely continue to keep their budgets tight up. How many of you can relate to that? You've heard that the economy is doing better, but then why aren't we doing more in our company? Why aren't our budgets increasing a bit? So it's probably going to happen for the foreseeable future. So some of the questions that were asked, one is, what can I do to show my value in my position? And the reason that question was asked, I can go back to saying that, you know, if companies are continuing to tighten their belts, and if one thing happens in the organization, who's the first to typically get cut? Training. So one of the things strategically for us to look at is how we can show our value. So it's a very, I'm glad this question was asked. And I want to ask Kim if she could please give us some insights on that.
Well, when I saw the question, I really took it a little bit from a career coaching perspective in saying sometimes we can't always influence what is happening in our organization. And so how to really keep your value to stay strong is to always be acknowledging your own talents and your accomplishments and your skill sets, and to be, in a way, you're always marketing that brand of what you're bringing. You are a consultant really inside any organization. So you look at it as if that Me Inc. is your brand, that is who you are. And so you are, in a way, always showing that value because you are bringing that skill set and that unique talent to that organization. And so if that has to always stay strong. So that brand is by being a part of organizations, learning technology, always building your brand as strong as it can be so that you can withstand anything that happens, because you're always continuing to build that brand and making yourself known as a value to the organization more than just a position, because a position shift and your value and your skill set is strong, then usually organizations want to keep you and use that skill set within the organization. So it's just how to withstand, anything that happens in your organization. It's just to kind of keep that in this changing market. And if that shifts, you're ready to move on, and you're always building up your brand.
Thank you
So
very much.
that's the perspective.
So anybody else want to add to that?
Like, a little quick thing would be, whether you have the opportunity or not to diversify beyond the scope of your role, you should make that effort and try to find how you can add value on top of what you do. So it's that whole out-of-the-box thinking of being able to say, well, I know I've got this skill set over here that nobody else is using. So if you can work that into and get your boss to know, I can do that. I do that, and I do it well. Then you've added value. You've added things to your toolbox. The other thought that just came to mind while Kim was talking is that I would suggest you try and quantify what you do. I listened to a speaker on metrics the other day, and what the value that you bring is, without it, costs the company money because people are no longer getting the training that they need. So if you were to put your mind to it, you could think about how to quantify that in a way that you could say, here's the cost to not doing what we need to do. So those are just two of my thoughts.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So with that, showing our value, how many of you are struggling with being able to show your value to your organization? So some things that have come up from others that I've been hearing about is that how many of you are managers of learning function? How many have managed the learning function at all? As leaders of the learning function, we have a responsibility and a role to show the value of our staff and our team by being able to show the return on investment. So being able to speak the language of the C-level, also making ourselves more strategic by speaking and by looking at change management. As we mentioned earlier, being able to focus on helping organizations to see that we're more than just training. What we do is strategic in the organization. We focus on performance improvement. If we focus on performance improvement, then that helps us to be able to broaden the scope of what it is that we do. So it's really educating the leadership about what we do. So if we're wanting to add to our value, we want to also make sure we go through an education campaign, that personal branding campaign that Kim was speaking of, and look at how can we, as professionals, show our value in terms of speaking the language of the C-level, but also educating them on what we do, educating them about performance improvement. Because for performance improvement, there are multiple performance interventions, and training is just one of the six, or one of the many. So maybe it's a process improvement that needs to happen. Maybe it's a management issue. Maybe it's maybe it's an equipment issue. But we become more consultants, more consultative to the organizations, and not just merely an order taker when they say, I need a training on sexual harassment. Well, we ask the question, why do you need a training on sexual harassment? And then begin to do our needs analysis, and it goes from there. All right? So thank you. I want to welcome our other panelists. And you did.
Valiant effort getting here.
I made a beeline from downtown Los Angeles, so.
So thank you very much and welcome. And do you want to introduce yourself? Just share a little bit about.
Alan Landers. I've been an instructional designer. Just to give you an idea, I don't know how many of you graduated from San Diego State or in the program at San Diego State, but I left the program the semester before Allison joined the program. So Allison and I are longtime friends. I've known her forever. I've probably hired 25 people from the program in my time. I'm an instructional designer, training manager, and OD consultant now. So,
Well, welcome. We're glad you made it, and thank you for committing to being here and showing up. I really appreciate it.
well, thank you.
You let us know ahead of time, so we really need that. So thank you. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so moving on to question number 2, or area number 2, and I would like to ask somebody to read that for us. Who would like to read that for us? Chris, would you mind?
Sure. Entering the profession in today's workforce. Entering the workforce today takes great courage. The economy has made it more challenging than ever to navigate.
Yeah. So it's sort of contrary to what we said, but that's at least the perceptions of most of us now, and maybe the experience of most of us right now. So there are some questions. Even through the course of the last 2 months, the economy has changed and evolved since we started taking questions. So one of the questions that I want to ask, and we polled the again, for our panelists, and they stressed significant responses to this question here. As a college graduate, should I focus on consulting or joining a company? Because people are beginning to look at their profession differently after leaving college. So should I even go through the risk of joining a company if they're just going to lay me off and let me go? I either won't want that stress, or should I just start my own business? So I want to ask Kim if she'd answer that for us.
You know, consulting, that is something that people hire people with expertise to help them with their consulting. So if this is a recent grad asking me that question, you know, my response is to join an organization and get at least 5 years of experience to be able to then turn around and share that knowledge. So that would be my just response to that question, other than, you know, really thinking through if it was someone with experience trying to decide, then thinking through if that's the type of environment that you best work in, because there's benefits to being in organizations and there's benefits to kind of being on your own. And are you more an autonomous? Do you like to work in a team? You know, where do you get your energy from? So I would look at the environments and really kind of decide if that's the right climate for success for you. And that it's more, it more has to do with that you're going to be successful there than kind of going with what the market predicts. It's just going to stick with what you do best and go that route.
Thank you. And Peter, you said you had some comments on that as well.
Sure, I'll read you mine. Because it's a little humorous. It says, as a new college graduate, you probably don't stand a chance against the army of well-experienced folks who are now labeled as consultants. And so that's very true. We've seen such a shift in the workforce that I'm a good example of that. I worked inside companies for more than 35 years, and just a year and a half ago said, okay, I'm going to do this on my own. And as Kim said, it's not for everyone, because I market every single day. I have to go to every meeting on the planet. I have to be visible, and there's just a ton of things I have to do that don't generate income. But it's a lifestyle that I enjoy, and it's very different from working inside a company. So anyway, the point is that I think anyone, if you don't have that experience where you can sell that knowledge, you're not going to do well.
Anybody want to add something to that?
Yes,
please.
I teach a course called Becoming a Successful Consultant for the Institute of Management Consultants. And I've been teaching that course now for a couple of years, and I teach the same course at University of San Diego. I train consultants. I've been a consultant for 20 years, 12 years, 13 years now on my own. Get a job. It's the competition is extremely fierce. I've been doing this for 20 years, 20 some odd years, okay? Are you going to compete against me? Maybe. Maybe you compete against me extremely well. But your chances of doing so, I mean, can you say that you work for General Motors, Hewlett Packard, Dun & Bradstreet, AT&T, Microsoft? Can you say that you've done that? I can. And I'm not all that special. I'm just saying that there are other people, the other panelists have said, who are just as qualified, just as good, and I compete against them on a daily basis. Imagine yourself doing that. The only way I'd recommend that if you decide that you want to be a consultant, this is what I really want to do, find yourself a great niche. Find yourself something that nobody else can do and be that. I'll tell you what I'm looking for right now. I'm looking to bring on board to my consulting firm, and that is a librarian. Somebody who understands corporate knowledge from a librarian categorizing knowledge perspective. And I've got work for them right now. So I'm looking for somebody. If anybody here has that background, PhD or master's level, please let me know. A couple, 5 or 6 years inside a company, please let me know. I'm looking for that. So get a job. It'll do you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.